Hi, hello everyone. I hope you're doing well. If you are new here, my name is Monzi, and today we're going to be talking about all of my favorite thrillers. It is officially September, and I know that for me, towards the end of September and then all throughout October, I plan on picking up a lot of thrillers, and I know that a lot of you are in the same boat as me. So I wanted to make this video now so you had plenty of time to pick some of these up if you're interested and then read them during the seasonally appropriate time. I know that these are generally considered mysteries slash thrillers. I don't know where the line is drawn between mystery and thriller, and so I'm just going to be referring to these books as thrillers for the sake of being succinct in this video. Before we get into the books, I want to tell you my general feelings on thrillers. I love a good thriller. I eat them up. Keyword being good though, and I don't think that the majority of thrillers are really that well done. More often than not, I will rate a thriller a 3-star or less. Very, very rarely do I give them a 4-star or above. I've only done that a handful of times, and all of those books that I have given a 4-star rating or above are going to be discussed in this video. And I also don't think I've ever given a thriller a 5-star rating. I always think that they're fun and entertaining, and sometimes I just need that quick, fast-paced read, but they never leave me with quite the emotional impact that typically will earn a 5-star rating from me. But that's in the grand scope of all of my reading experiences. If I were to rate the thrillers mentioned in this video against other thrillers only, then they would probably get a 5-star rating, if that makes sense. So let's just get into it. I'm gonna first go over the 2 books that I physically own. The first one is arguably gonna be the most gruesome of the bunch, and that is Pretty Girls by Karin Slaughter. In this book, we are following our main character, Claire, whose sister that was very near and dear to her heart went missing 20 years earlier, and Claire has just never been able to get over it. In present day, there is this ongoing case of another missing girl, and this case feels eerily similar to her sister's case. And Claire can't seem to shake the feeling that the two are linked, and so she kind of reopens her sister's case, so to speak. That's all I'm going to say about the plot, because I do think it's better to go into thrillers completely blind, or like mostly blind, but the story really starts to unravel from there. I do want to emphasize again how disturbing this book is and how graphic some of the scenes are. I don't think that everyone can stomach this, so I would highly recommend that you look up content warnings if you are sensitive to certain topics. In general, with thrillers, I would always check content warnings. They're always trying to push the envelope and talk about taboo topics, so I feel like that should just be a standard before you pick up a thriller if you feel like you need to. So because of the content, this book was not an easy read, but it so very much captivated me and had me completely hooked from beginning to end. And speaking of, I did not see the end coming whatsoever, and I gotta be honest, that's mostly what I'm looking for in a thriller. I just want to be completely caught off guard. And not only do I want to be caught off guard, but I want it to all add up at the end. I need it to make sense for it to really work for me. And this book really checked off those boxes for me. The next book that I have to discuss that I would put on par with Pretty Girls in terms of how disturbing it is The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo by Stieg Larsson. This book is translated into English from Swedish, and the original Swedish title is actually Men Who Hate Women, and I feel like the original title sums up the book pretty well. There was a scene in this book that I personally had a very, very hard time reading. I had a physical reaction to it. I was gagging. I really didn't enjoy reading it, and I kind of wish that I had skipped over it, so I'm going to put the chapter and the pages in this edition down below so that you can also skip over it if you want to. But basically, this is another mystery about a missing girl. The great uncle of the girl has just never been able to let go of her disappearance. He was really, really fond of her, and he is nearing the end of his life and really just wants to know what happened to his great niece. So he decides to hire a journalist, Michael Blomkvist, to reopen the case and try to figure out what happened to his grandniece. Michael Blomkvist partners up with this woman, a girl with a dragon tattoo, the namesake of the novel, who is very skilled in private investigation, and they team up and try to figure out what happened to this girl 40 years earlier. It did take me about 30% of the book to really get into the story, because you're reading from the perspectives of the journalist and the girl with the dragon tattoo, who are so distanced from the mystery at hand. So it took me a little bit to even care about why this girl was missing. But once you get into it, there is a massive payoff at the end. And there's very much a reason that this book was so popular in the early 2000s. So I would highly recommend, again, if you can stomach the content within. Next up, I have a YA thriller, and that is Ace of Spades by Faridah àbíké-íyímídé. This book is described as a cross between the movie Get Out and the TV show Gossip Girl, and it is exactly that. I absolutely loved the movie Get Out. I distinctly remember watching it in theaters, and I have also watched the entirety of Gossip Girl 2 times through, so I love Gossip Girl as well. So that combo is such perfection to me. Like Gossip Girl, the story takes place in this very rich, private high school academy, and there is an anonymous texter that is slowly revealing the secrets of the students at the school. And like Get Out, there is some really great social commentary on racism, but it's kind of interwoven into this highly entertaining and thrilling narrative. This was an absolute page turner. I had so many jaw-dropping moments. There were so many twists and turns, I can't even tell you. I think my original rating of this book was a 4.5, and looking back on that rating, I would 100% stand by it. Then we have Behind Closed Doors by B.A. Paris. I would describe this book as less of a mystery and more of a thriller, just in the sense that there is no actual secret to uncover in this book. You actually start off knowing who the bad guy is, which I find very, very unique, because usually in thrillers you're trying to figure out like who did it, but in this one you know exactly who did it from the first chapter. So the book opens up with this dinner party that this couple is hosting, and the wife is described as very elegant. She's like this incredible cook and like an amazing hostess. And the husband is super handsome and very charming, and he is very successful in his career. And to the outsider, they seem like this perfect couple. But once the guests all leave their home after the dinner party, we find out that there is actually something really sinister going on behind closed doors. So again, there isn't some huge mystery that we're trying to unlock with this one, although there are some mysterious elements throughout the book. We're mostly seeing what events led up to this current situation and how one of the characters in the book is trying desperately to puzzle their way out of this situation. So definitely a little bit different a setup than most thrillers, and I don't think that it's going to be for everyone, but it was definitely for me. Next up, we have another book that I read earlier this year. I think it was one of the first books that I read in 2024 actually, and that is They Never Learn by Layne Fargo. So yeah, when I read this, it pretty much instantly became one of my favorite thrillers to date. So this is a vigilante story told from 2 different perspectives. The first perspective is of a college professor. She teaches English literature, and she's a serial killer. That's not a spoiler, you learned that from the very beginning. So she's a serial killer who specifically targets men who have wronged women in some way. That can be through voyeurism, sexual assault, domestic violence, those sorts of things. So basically she takes it upon herself to off these men who she feels like have not properly been brought to justice for their actions. The second perspective in this book is of a college freshman, Carly, at this very same university. And I'm not going to tell you too much about her storyline because I think it's best that you kind of just figure out on your own. But you're reading from these 2 different perspectives, and you kind of eventually figure out how they connect to one another. There is a huge major plot twist 50% of the way through the book that I think is so well done and that I didn't see coming, and I don't think most people see coming. And yeah, this was just a really great thriller in my opinion. Obviously some big content warnings just based off of the premise of the book, so I don't think that this is for everyone, but I thought it was really, really good. And then the last book that I have to discuss, I actually talked about in a very recent video. I talked about it in my 5 binge-worthy books from 5 different genres video. I will link that down below. After making that video, I decided to pick this book up again, so I actually read it this past week and finished it last night, and it 100% still holds up, and that is The One by John Mars. So in this world, there is this DNA test that has been invented that can pair you with your perfect match, the one who you're destined to be with biologically, your soulmate, if you will. And we are following 5 different storylines, 5 different perspectives of people and how the results of this test have impacted their lives in different ways. One perspective is of a serial killer. Another perspective is of the creator of this DNA test who then takes the test herself. And there are 3 other storylines that I'm not going to get too into because I think that it would spoil some things for you. This book is very, very, very Black Mirror-esque. So if you like Black Mirror, you should absolutely pick this book up. It's very dystopian thriller. And I thought that all 5 perspectives were interesting. There were actually some that I was more invested in than others. I think I said in my video a couple weeks ago that I was invested in all of them equally, but that's not the case anymore. There were a couple that I thought were just okay, and then there were 3 perspectives that I was like, you know, totally locked in on. The chapters are super, super short, and each one leaves you on a cliffhanger, so you can just like completely fly through the book. And I just think it's a particularly good thriller, and if you haven't read it yet, you should absolutely pick it up. And those are the only thrillers that I have rated a 4-star or above. If you are somehow able to glean my taste in thrillers from this list and you have any recommendations, please let me know down below. I will go ahead and tell you I am not a Lisa Jewell fan. I don't think I like Alice Feeney, but I've only read one of her books, so I should give her a second chance. But I didn't like Rock, Paper, Scissors because I didn't think that anything added up in the end. I thought The Silent Patient was okay, and really those are the only thrillers that I can think of off the top of my head. But no Lisa Jewell recommendations at the very least. I'll take anything else but Lisa Jewell. I still have yet to read anything by Riley Sager or Ruth Ware, so if they have any books that you feel like are in a similar vein to the ones that I've talked about, drop it in the comments down below. In the next couple of weeks, I will be coming out with my thriller TBR, and I plan on reading most of those books in the month of October. There are going to be a few thriller related videos coming out in the next month because I can just feel myself gravitating towards the genre. So that's what you can expect from me. Please, of course, also let me know just some of your favorite thrillers that you've read, or even ones that you're planning on reading next month. I would love to hear. And I'm gonna be signing off now. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.